Welcome to the Feist.
Everything you want to know about your favorite women's sports in one feisty hour.
With your feistiest friends,
Kelly O'Mara
and Sara Gross.
And today we've got two big sports things coming up. It is UTMB week. Is that the biggest week in trail running, Sara? Discuss, debate. And Hannah Otto, the U.S. national champion in marathon mountain biking, joined me to talk about the mountain bike world championships, which are also starting this weekend. I feel like we went from no sports to all the sports.
A massive week for endurance sports.
Yeah. But we actually were doing sports.
You and I did endurance sports.
We did sports.
Yes. Yeah, and what did you do, Kelly?
Yeah, so I went to Chicago for 30 hours. Quick trip for the Chicago Triathlon, and they put on a Supertri pro race there. So I was watching the pro race, and then I did my first triathlon back postpartum.
Yay!
Yay! It was actually really fun. So if anyone, I never know how much in the weeds we should go on triathlon in our audience here.
Pretend I don't know anything about triathlon and tell me how your first postpartum short triathlon went.
I grew up in Chicago. The Chicago Triathlon historically was one of the biggest races in the world. It had 8,000 to 10,000 people, and a lot of races, mass participation took a hit in the pandemic. So it's back up. It had to 6,000.
Okay.
And they have a big kids race. They have this super sprint race. You can do this super sprint race on a city bike, a rent-a city bike.
Love that. I love
really
races
fun.
that allow for you to just rock up and rent a bike right on the spot. I think that's so amazing and accessible.
I did do a rental bike because I was only going for 30 hours because this was my first race back, and I very much understand where my fitness is. I rented a bike. I think you saw I put a picture of it on Instagram. It had a little burrito bag. I had a visor on my helmet. I had little reflectors,
it was amazing.
On my wheels. My bike stopped shifting after I picked it up. And the rental person just sprayed some lube in it and was you'll be good to go. So she was it's pretty flat.
Lube, that's how you fix shifters.
So, but it was really fun. I do think there's really, if anyone's ever seen these super tri events, they're kind of the NASCAR of triathlon. They're super, super short, and loops. And I will say, my husband and Katie Zafaris, who is a former Olympian who does our Tri podcast, asked if I was doing the Super Tri race, and I was no, they did not put me in with the Olympians.
The Olympians, Kelly.
to do
just tagging in randomly there for Team USA. Let's go.
Yeah. I have a mini rant though, Sara.
Oh, okay.
Here's my mini rant. Okay. I am 6 months postpartum.
Okay.
And it has not been super smooth given my fitness I came in with, right? Okay. And partially because of C-section. So a lot of people have said things to me oh, but you can't judge, you can't compare, you have to listen to your body. And those are perfectly nice things to say, you do whatever you want. That's a nice thing to embroider on a pillow. It is not.
You're a real embroidery pillow kind of gal, too.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying it is not useful medical advice, right? And so I find this notion very bizarre. And so a lot of people are saying this to me going into this race, which I had I was on a rental bike. I was whatever, I'm just going to go out there and go hard. I wasn't judging myself. But a lot of people kept being oh, you can't compare. And then afterwards when I was yeah, I felt really good. It was nice. But I look down, I'm running a minute slower per mile. They're oh, you can't compare. One, sports are comparison. That's sports' thing. That's what sports are.
That's what sports are. Yeah.
That's what sports are. Two, you can compare without judging, right? I think so many of these women's health and women's sports things, we have so much judgment tied up in weight or postpartum or pregnancy and so the reaction has been to just completely not even look at those things. But in reality, if more of the doctors had listened to me over the last 6 months and been oh, you're not recovering at a rate that would be normal for someone of your fitness level, then maybe we would have realized something was wrong from the C-section and we could have done something.
Right.
But instead, because everyone's oh, just listen, it can be slow. We're not treating, or weight, for example, when I had that concussion, one of the signs that something was messed up was I gained 10 pounds suddenly. Oh. And the doctor's sitting there being well, but you're still skinny. And you're this isn't a moral judgment. Yeah. This is a medical fact. Yeah. Let's treat it. And so I think there's this thing that's happened where women's reaction to the medical system or the sports system are these systems are very tied together. Mm-hmm. judging them and putting like a moral value is that we're now like, oh, well, don't look at that at all. But that could be like that actually, it actually is like like I don't see my resting heart rate in the morning go up and think like I'm a bad person. I think, oh, I might be getting sick. And so like, I feel like we need to do that more, right? Like I don't think, right. So I ran my triathlon and I felt good about it. And I go, oh, I'm still like that was good. But like, yeah, I'm still like slower than I was. I don't like feel bad about myself. I'm just like, oh, okay. Yeah. So anyway, that is my little mini, I find it kind of not great.
Yes, I'm so with you on this. So a couple things like came to my mind immediately, like where I was like, oh yeah, even last week I went to a CrossFit class with a friend of mine, and like before we started, it was like we were keeping track of our scores on a piece of paper.
Oh yeah, like they do in CrossFit.
And I was like, I'm going to try to beat you. And then I was like, I'm writing my and I don't actually like at the end of the day care if I beat him, but I'm like, I'm going to try to beat you. I'm going to write my scores here. And then we were like kind of going like around 3 stations. So we were he started ahead of me and then I started. So like I would see his score when I came, and then he would see my previous score. Right, you know what I mean? As we went around, and like, cause we got a minute off after every round. So I was like, then I can see, then I have like something to aim for. Right.
See?
Like, and then I was like, and then we had that conversation after. He's like, I love how you were just like, I'm going to try to beat you. I'm like, I need a goal. Like, and then I was like, if I'd been easily beating you by like 5 points, like 5 reps per round, I would have then tried to beat you by 5 reps every round. Or if you'd been beating me by 5, I would have been like, I'll stay within 5 for every round. Like, I'm just like using it as some way to like get the best out of myself, and then it's over, right? Like, and so you're right, like comparison is like an inherent part of sports. And then when I was coming back postpartum, I can remember being very excited about the fact that like I started out with a very slow average swim pace for me, average swim pace when I like for hundreds, you know, and then every time it was like this short window of time where like every time I went to the pool, I would basically get faster.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I freaking loved that. Like, and I can see how, like, I would have been super annoyed if people had been like, oh, well, don't compare yourself to whatever. I'm like, I'm not. I just started at a thing. I know what I used to be able to do. And I'm like slowly, like, incrementally getting better. And it's very fun and encouraging for me. So.
Right. My, like, the graph is going up on my chart, on all my charts. That's the direction. But yeah, so I find it very weird. Because I will say, in my super scientific survey of my start corral, they had the men and the women all mixed in where I was starting, because it was by self-projected finish time.
Nice. That's like, always, that's always great.
And the men around me, like the amount of confidence they had, right?
Yeah.
Which I also have. It's fine. But then all the women were like, oh, I don't know. Like, oh, I shouldn't be. Do you want to go in front of me?
Yes.
So I do. There's like clearly when people are saying like don't compare yourself or don't judge yourself, or like, one is obviously like a little bit about them, right? But two, like what they're reacting to this like larger right? They're reacting to the like magazine covers that are like, oh, did she lose the baby weight? Like that's what they're reacting to. Right. But you can separate those. We should try to separate those things.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Totally.
So anyway, it was fun. It was good. It's also wildly satisfying to be on like a super beater rental bike and like passing men on their like really fancy, super expensive triathlon bikes. Yeah. So.
That's what I used to love racing in. I'm sure I've told this story many times, but racing in the UAE, like in Abu Dhabi or Dubai, where everybody had like a lot of money but no time to train. And so the transition area would be filled with like $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 bikes. And then I had, especially when I was new, and I just had my like, used TT bike that I traveled to do, and then like literally was waiting for people to come by me, and they just didn't. So I used to love that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it was super fun. It is also really, I do think it's cool when like you kind of mix the pros with like thousands of beginners. And they kind of like get to see all the different things. I think that's like a good way to do events.
Kelly, were you on the podium in your age group?
I was 4th, and so I don't know if podium
just missed
was.
It.
I know.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good.
It was very exciting. And what did you do? You did your
I
sportsing.
did some sportsing. So one of my best friends had her 46th birthday, and so she had this whole weekend of like endurance sports planned, which like
A whole weekend.
yeah. And so you just never really know what's going to come at you, right? Or whether I'll be able to keep up, or whether I'll be able to get out of bed the next morning. It's just a whole thing. Anyway, so we decided she actually had a bit of an Achilles injury, which saved me because she wanted to run like 40K in the mountains in Whistler. And
Okay.
that was something I would be wildly unprepared for and potentially would die. So we didn't do that. But we went up to like the top. We like we kind of like fast hiked about 8K like straight up. And then we get to the top and she's like, let's let's run down, which running down 8K doesn't sound like a lot, but if you've like run down the side of a mountain before straight for 8K without any run preparation, like it's not like your quads are just like not ready for that. So she decided we were doing like 15 minutes on, 2 minutes off. 5 times on the descent. It's like rocks and roots and like this is like it wasn't too steep, but it's still like a mountain in Whistler. Like, you know.
Right.
And so it was great. Like it was really fun. We came down, but that was 2 days ago. And by yesterday afternoon I was like, "Oh, my quads are not feeling good." And then this morning I could barely like I had lunch. I had like a lunch meeting around the corner here from her place, and I was walking like peg-legged. Like I was like just like straight, like I could not use my quads. So it's been a long time since I've had that feeling, and I have a new appreciation for like we're going to talk about UTMB, trail running, like that people like how well trained folks are to like go out and run like up and down the mountains. Like if anyone's ever done a marathon where there's even like a slight downhill at the end, it makes it like 10 times harder. So this was like, anyway, I'm making my way. I there was no way I could run this morning again, but yeah, it was fun.
So you're really trying to like live our sports this week.
Yeah, we lived our sports.
We lived our sports. Yeah, we are going to talk about UTMB. UTMB is a massive, massive week. We had originally like thought about going there, but we went to France so many times last year for the Olympics and the Ironman World Champs. So we are not there, but I feel like I have a bunch of friends and we're going to preview it. But first, we did get another voicemail, and not from my mom this time.
Not from your mom.
We got an actual voicemail from a listener.
Yes, let's hear that.
I am a powerlifter, but I also do triathlons. And I was at powerlifting training yesterday morning, and I mentioned to my coach that I had listened to this interview about decathlon, and it was super interesting that they were going to replace heptathlon, or they're hoping to replace heptathlon for women in the Olympics with the decathlon. And my coach, powerlifting coach, is Swedish, and he flew into a rage that I just couldn't quite believe. I was a little bit shocked. He was like, "Why? I am one of the biggest heptathlon fans in the world, and I'm a huge fan of Carolina Kluft. And what is the point of this? I don't understand. This stuff makes me so angry. Why do people think that they need a women's decathlon? What is the point? Women don't need this." And he was super angry. Like, I was actually kind of shocked that he was angry. And I was like a bit defensive, and I wanted to send him the episode and be like, "Here, listen to this." And I thought, like, I'm not going to send him this, because if he's so angry about women wanting to have a decathlon in the Olympics, then he's going to be super angry listening to the Feist, which is so pro women. And then this morning I was listening to the episode about, is it sexism? And it was funny because after he'd had this explosion, I thought, like, is that sexist? Like, is that sexist behavior that some men don't want, women to have a Tour de France, or don't want women to be in the NBA, or don't want women to have a decathlon in the Olympics? And I was kind of thinking, like, yeah, it is. And actually, although I've been powerlifting with the same coach since 2018, and I'm competing in a competition in November, and I've been thinking it's not going to be my last powerlifting competition, I kind of had a moment where I thought, like, my coach is sexist. Like, I'm in a sport I've been competing in powerlifting since 2018, and was for a long time a very male-dominated sport, but women's powerlifting has really come up a lot in the last few years, and the women's performances at the World Games and was really phenomenal in powerlifting, and he's always supported that, like women in powerlifting, women coming up in powerlifting, but then to not see that there's also a need for women to have a decathlon in the Olympics instead of a heptathlon, to me is kind of sexist, really. And it raised some very interesting questions for me, like listening to those episodes in reverse order about, how do men view women's sports.
So I want to say, I appreciate that she was trying to explain this to her coach, and I have the same thing sometimes where I try to explain something to like one of my husband's friends or who has no context, and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Right. But I will say, when I first heard about the women, should have their own decathlon a year ago, I also was like, the fuck, why do they need a decathlon? They have not because they don't deserve it, but because I was like, we don't have to do everything the men do. Right. The heptathlon, we could have our own thing. The heptathlon's and I have come around because I've thought about it and listened to okay, well, not people aren't necessarily some people are choosing the heptathlon, but a lot of people, they don't have a choice. This is the only option, right? So I've gotten there. Yeah. But my point is, I can see why someone's initial reaction to something you said, and I made fun of you a week ago. It doesn't have to be sexist. You don't have to outright, blatantly, mean to discriminate against women for something to be sexist, right? It could just be internalized.
Yes, you made fun of me for being do I know what institutionalized sexism is, Sarah? Yes, I do. But
so my point is, the coach here, it could just be that his gut reaction is they have their own thing. It's really cool. Why do they, and that's just your gut, because it's, systematized, structural.
Yeah. I do love that she was going back and forth in her own mind and and then just finally landed on is my coach sexist? Yes. My coach is sexist. Right.
I'm just saying, I don't know if it's his fault is all I'm trying to say.
But to our point, it doesn't have to be
right.
Being inadvertently sexist is also possible. I also like when she was I don't really know what to do with the feelings I have. And really felt we were providing an outlet for that. So,
oh, good.
Yeah. So I think her name's, I just saw it written, so I think it's Aisha. So sorry if I got that wrong. Or Aisha. But I feel like she's our people.
Our feisties.
She's our feisties. The people who are oh yeah, that's who are thinking along with
appreciate
us,
I appreciate you don't know what to do with your feelings. I have read a lot lately. There's been a lot out there, and this is not applied to Sarah because she's in Canada and then we live in alternate timelines these days. But a lot of people are telling me you people want something positive. They want self-care. They want somewhere to direct their negative feelings. No, I don't. All right? There is not. I want I am pissed and I'm angry, and I think more people need to be pissed and angry, and I don't want to be oh, let's just think about happy things. No.
Yeah.
So that's where I get this.
Yeah, I understand. I'm with you. I think continuing, somebody has to bang the drum.
Yeah.
And it's going to be us, and it's going to be Aisha apparently. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Kudos. If you want to send in more feisty, send in more voicemails. Let's try and keep them to 60 seconds to 90 seconds, because somebody else also sent us another multiple minute voicemail, and I'm saying, and we don't have time for all of these. So send us your thoughts. Keep it tight. All right, UTMB week. I have to say, this is actually one of my favorites. I'm getting really into UTMB.
Which stands for Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc. Is that what it is? Okay.
Yes. Because they run around Mont Blanc.
Okay.
In Chamonix. Well, so it starts in Chamonix. Okay. They run around Mont Blanc. They go through 4 countries. I always forget the 4th one because it's France, Switzerland, Italy. And I always forget the 4th one. And they go over 4 12,000-foot mountain passes so this all started with that one big 100-ish mile, it's 108 miles, race around the mountain, right? And it was can this even be done, 30 years ago or whatever it was. And now it's a whole week. And UTMB, which is the pinnacle, like the 100-mile race at the end of the week, is still like the big one.
I was wondering which one was the pinnacle.
But there's so many.
Yeah, so
now it's like the other ones are big too. They're like their own thing.
Yeah, I clicked through the link that you shared with all of like the acronyms and the races that were going on during the week, and it does sound like this amazing selection of trail runs that you can do during the week, and they're all like different distances, and but the acronyms are insane. Like, what's wrong with calling it like the 100-mile,
the 100K, right? Like, why can't you be like, this is the 50K, this is the 100K? Yeah. So the problem, what Sarah's saying is like, so at the end of the week is the race that's called UTMB, that is the like 108 miles. And that's kind of still like the pinnacle one. But now that UTMB is also a series of races that you qualify to this to the finals. Now UTMB means like other things too. And then there's all these races in the week leading up, like right now as you're listening to this. And those have grown. There's like a race every single day now. And the big ones at the end of the week, which are the OCC and the CCC. Yes.
Okay, you guys see what I'm saying already, right?
Right. So the CCC is the 100K and the OCC is like the 57K. But those are also championship races now for those distances. And then, so those three at the end of the week are like the big ones, the OCC, the CCC, and the UTMB. And then earlier in the week is like the MCC, the ETL, the PTL. Like,
are you just making these up, or are these the actual acronyms?
No. PTL and MCC are actual acronyms. Then there's TDS and ETC. Yeah.
So it's so simple and easy to follow.
It's so simple and right. I like read a book about this because I was like, I'm so confused. So they all the different acronyms. Besides UTMB, the rest of them stand for the towns that they go to and like come from. So what they're really saying is like this town to this town and back to this town, and it's just like short for that. But it also is all like French and very confusing. The point is though, there's a whole week now of races, and they range like the one that starts very early in the week is this like 2 or 3 person 300K like takes like 4 days to do type thing. And then in the middle of the week, you have like the slightly shorter ones, but they're still like, 20 miles or whatever. For the volunteers and the locals, you have a youth series now. And then at the end of the week, you have kind of this like world championship, even though it's, a private company and it's not like an official world, but you have like this pinnacle championship race in like a 50K distance, 100K distance, and then this like massive 100-miler. And those 2 shorter ones have actually gotten really, really competitive in the last few years, which I think is also really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, what's wild is like how fast ultra running has grown, which is just exemplified here. You have this whole week of racing, and then additionally have like qualifying races for the races. Like, it's just like it used to be when I was first doing endurance sport, ultra running just used to be like just a handful of people. It seemed like, anyway. You know what I mean?
Now it's like 2,500 people or whatever do the 100-mile one.
Right. Yeah. Now you just like mass amounts of people out on a mountainside. It's incredible.
Which is why I want to do it. So for anyone who's curious about like the qualifying is super complicated now too. But so you have to earn lottery tickets, but they call them stones just to make it confusing. And I have 6 stones, which is a lot of stones. And I'm going to put them in for next year. Put my stones in. And how many
stones? Wait, is it 6 the amount you need, or is it like the more the better?
No. Any one stone could get pulled.
So 6 gives you 6 chances in the lottery.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Got it.
And I earned my stones like a year, but they're only good for 2 years.
Okay, wait, how did you earn 6? Like, is that 6 races? Is that like you did really well and got 6?
So you get no.
Okay. Neither of those.
Neither of those things. So you get stones at any race that is part of like the UTMB World Series. In order to get stones for like that 100K or that 100-mile distance, you have to do like 100K or longer. They don't let you count short races towards that. The short races can count towards the shorter.
Okay.
Ones.
So you could have some stones for a long distance and some stones for a shorter one.
Right. Okay. But your stones for the shorter distance only count to get you into the 50K championship. Okay. See, it's very complicated.
Yes.
But you have to do a qualifying race. And then if you do, in the whole World Series, UTMB has bought all these races or partnered with all these races around the world, and you earn qualifiers. There's also set like regional championships. And so those have double the stones.
Oh, double stone events. But you just finish them.
Events.
Like if you finish a double stone event, you get 2.
Yes.
Basically.
And I only did a double stone event because it happened to be like 2 hours from my house. Yeah. But all these Europeans had come in for the double stones.
Okay.
I know.
Okay, so wow, I have follow-up questions. Okay, last time we talked about ultra running, it was all about buckles, belt buckles, and like.
Right.
So how can you get like a stone and a buckle at the same race, or like
you can?
Okay. And the buckles are when you finish at certain times.
Oh my God, Sarah. Okay, so there are buckles that are race dependent. All right, any race just has their own
arbitrarily
buckle.
handing out
buckles. Okay, and that's just like up to that race. And then there are tickets for Western States if you want to get a lottery ticket. And we've talked about how those are like a whole other system that like every year you enter, you like double your chances. Right. So only some races are on the Western States list. It's most races, but it's like it has to be on their list. And then UTMB series, which is so Western States doesn't own any races. They just like have verified that certain ones like count, right? Okay. UTMB owns races. So UTMB buys races and runs their races. And you have to do one of those to get stones. So the one I did got me tickets and stones.
What?
Whoa.
Wait, and a buckle? Did you get a buckle?
No, because I didn't go fast enough, remember?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I just got a strip of
leather. You could have got tickets, stones, and buckles all at the same.
Yes.
I don't know whether this is like on one, but there's part of me that wants to say, I have some advice for them to make these races more accessible to people. Like between the acronyms and the stones and the tickets. But then the flip side is that like, I have to credit them for making it like, you could spend 100 kilometers of running just trying to decide your plan for getting stones and tickets and stuff. Like it's very complicated.
It's a whole thing. And the other thing is, okay, so UTMB has grown. UTMB now referencing like the organization and the event.
Okay. Not the specific event, but.
Not the specific, but like the week.
Yes.
It's actually just owned by like a couple, like a husband-wife team who live in Chamonix. And during the pandemic, they sold a minority share to Ironman because they actually like have no cash flow. Like they put on this huge event. It's like 2,500 people, and there actually isn't like a lot of money coming in because it just like goes out to
events.
Yeah, events are not actually like moneymakers. Right. Side point. So they sold a minority share to Ironman and trail runners. This is also part of their effort to like grow. And Ironman runs like a lot of their North American races now because like just on the ground, like operationally, because they're based in France. And trail runners, Sarah, they are just like corporate bullshit. So while I was getting my stones and my tickets on that 100K, I talked to a bunch of people and they all had thoughts.
Of course they did.
They were like, they were all very upset. They were going to ruin trail running.
Oh man.
I think that's died out a little bit, but it's still just like, it's
right. I think trail running's just grown enough that like, it's going to get corporate. You can't slow that down.
They still don't give prize money.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. And there was some survey I was just looking at about trail runners because it's like the booming sport right now in terms of growth and stuff. So they were doing a survey and people are still like runners themselves are still split on whether or not there should be prize money in trail running.
Interesting. The first race that just like offers prize money, people will come.
Yeah. I will say the other thing though, particularly because like we went to Western States and Western States is very like the pinnacle of North American trail running and UTMB is very European centered and like it is global obviously, but it's very, very French. And their rates of female participation are much, much, much lower in Europe than here. And so you do at that like 100-mile pinnacle distance, it's still like 10% women or something. So it's still like super low. I think like some efforts, right? Like there was a point where they didn't even award as many women as men on the podium because the women's field was something, the argument that like the women's field's smaller, so it it's like doesn't deserve as deep. Well, they now do that, right? They now give out equal prizes, not money.
Prizes.
No, like
buckles
podiums,
and stones and points.
Right. Right. Oh, there's an index. There's an index of points. Absolutely.
I love it. You could host a race. You don't have to provide any prize money. Just give away arbitrary points. You can give away Schrute bucks and everybody will come. Yes.
So there are some things where you're like a little bit like, okay, guys, like we've gone through this in like every sport. Like we kind of know how this works. You could just, and there are a lot of runners, a lot of women runners who have like, you know, really been trying to work with them. And but there's also something to like when it is just like a husband-wife duo, they just kind of make decisions.
Yeah. You see, crazy. For some reason, so when I was training for triathlon, I was on a altitude camp in Davos in Switzerland, right?
Oh, I've been there.
And and I went there for 2 different summers. And one day I was out for my long run and I met this like group of women. Like we were basically like running back down the side of a mountain, although I was prepared for it this time, together. And we were kind of running the same pace. And I started chatting with them, whatever. And then one woman had like won the Swiss Mountain Marathon the year before. Like they were all like ultra runners. And I remember this was my kind of like, I knew ultra running existed, but I didn't know who these people were. I didn't know anything about it. And so I was asking them all. And they were like, oh, we just came from, then like, we're in the Alps. And they're like, we came from that peak to this peak and this peak. And then, and I ran the last like hour and a half of their run with them. And I just thought like, who were those people? They're amazing.
What is happening?
So like my impression is that like, there's these amazing groups of women who run together in the Swiss Alps, but like, that was probably them. That was all of them.
That was them. Yeah. No, I think it's obviously there are probably women out there and they're just, you know, they're not figuring out this system I just described. They're not like, right? Like, and like, obviously it requires a lot of support to do one of these races. Like somebody, especially when the one that like circles a mountain, like somebody has to be like driving and meeting you at every aid station and like, and it's very, very real. There was like a study, whatever, recently about like the motherhood, like childcare is a huge issue, both in like, so we like I think there are women who can do these things. They're
gosh, of course, yeah.
There's just like all the usual barriers, which is why I'm always sort of like, guys, we already know the answer to this. You could fix this, but there are also actual pros, even though there's not prize money. Right. It is the biggest race. There are Courtney Dauwalter is back.
Did she win last year? Is that right?
No, Katie Scheid won last year. And so for everybody who has been waiting, we've all been waiting. Everyone who is deeply into...
Everyone who understands the acronyms and all of the pieces.
Yes, has been waiting for a Katie versus Courtney.
Okay.
Because Courtney won in 2023, and 2023 was like Courtney's big year, right? When she did like Western States, UTMB of heart. And then last year, Katie Scheid broke Courtney's record at UTMB, and she won Western States. Right. So we were like hoping this year they would go up against each other. But Katie has opted instead to do the World Trail Championships at the end of September.
Oh, so we're not getting our head-to-head matchup that we were all hoping. That I've been hoping for the last 2 minutes.
Yes. And there's like an interesting. So Courtney Dauwalter, after that, like 2023, is like, oh, she's like the best trail runner ever. Yeah. She's definitely had like a lower key last 2 years. She's been like DNF'd a race, and that's not like normal for her. So people are like, can she be beat?
Wow.
I know. So anyway, I know what I was going to say. There are people who could beat her this year, including, Abby, who won Western States, has decided to jump into UTMB.
Oh, nice.
So she'll be racing Heather Jackson.
Oh, Heather Jackson.
And we know she's so Abby Hall, she was kind of like, well, I'm feeling good. Yeah. Might as well see what happens. Yeah. Heather Jackson, she did the whichever acronym is the 100K last year, and she's doing the full one this year. Okay. And I think a lot of we both know her from triathlon, but now she's like a trail running, gravel bike cycling racing superstar. Yeah. So that'll be, it'll be something. Okay. Fu Zhao, our favorite. Our favorite, who got second at Western States, is running the 100K.
Right. I just want to see her eat noodles again at the aid station. She was just... For those who didn't hear that episode, I was like standing right there trying to record it as she's like eating noodles quickly from a bowl, right, with chopsticks. And her team is like fixing everything from like her blisters, shoes off, fixing her hair, making her cool. Like this was like a well-oiled machine just happening. And she just like was very focused on the noodles. And like just imagine eating when people are like fussing with like every part of you.
And there was like 30 people surrounding her filming. It was like kind of crazy.
Yeah. It was wild.
So she's doing the 100K. So I think she's hoping to win it this year.
Okay, well, I'm
So it's
a
very
Fu
exciting.
Zhao super fan, so
And you can watch it. You can watch it. It's all like UTMB live, all up on there. I don't like Corinne, who's been on our podcast before, used to do the commentary, and I don't think she is anymore, which is a shame.
and is
but
it on
they
YouTube, Kelly?
It's on YouTube. It's on UTMB, like live.utmb.
YouTube. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's like all other things, like, you know, in Europe, it's on whatever, one of those things, BN Sports, whatever they are. And
an acronym with sports after it.
An acronym.
It'll be fine. You'll find it.
You'll find it. I think it's HBO Max here, something like that. So you can watch it. Yeah.
Great. Cool. Well, we'll
very exciting.
recap
And
next
year, we will be there, Sarah.
This is your prediction. Okay. We've not, just for those listening, we have not previously talked about this, but okay.
Well, I will, because I'm putting in my stones.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be there because I'm going to be on Kelly's video crew.
Right.
I'm going to be holding my iPhone to Kelly, watching her eat noodles.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I'm here for it. Yeah.
All right. So that's the big thing this week. And then and then I was like, because I have this massive list of all the big sports things. And the Mountain Bike World Championships also start on Friday. And it is interesting this year, Sarah, because they have brought like all the disciplines together in Switzerland for like 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they're in like different locations because
Okay.
obviously like downhill has to be in a different space than cross country, but they're doing like enduro, downhill, cross country, marathon cross country. There's even like an e-bike category. There's like
an e-bike category.
It's all
now? Cool.
yeah. So it's all happening. And then I think this is one of the first times they've done like
Everything all together in one big mountain bike world championships. That
one
also
big
sounds
thing.
very fun.
Yeah. But that also has a lot of acronyms.
I'm sure. What is with the acronyms? Why can't we just call it like the cross country race and the downhill? I don't understand.
So I did. We talked to Hannah Otto, who has been on our cycling podcast before. I think feisty listeners probably know her. And she explained all the acronyms, all the different kinds of mountain biking for us. All right, with Hannah Otto, the national champion in cross-country marathon mountain biking, right? Did I get XCM?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Lots of different acronyms.
Yes. Well, congratulations. It was your first national championship, right?
Yes, my first elite national championship.
National, right. Elite. Yeah, we were joking about there's so many acronyms and different kinds of mountain biking. Can you tell our listeners, like, what is marathon mountain biking versus maybe, you know, like Red Bull jumping off cliffs that they see on Instagram?
There's so many different types of mountain biking. So there's something for everybody. But in the acronyms, you'll hear XCC, cross country short circuit. So that's like 20-minute loop, 20-minute of many loops. So like a 3-minute loop. You'll hear XCO, which is a little bit bigger loop, which is a 90-minute race, about 10 to 15-minute loops. You'll hear XCM, which is typically not a loop. That's the more of what I do, cross-country marathon,
right.
Which is the long form. And so those races have to be a minimum of 60 kilometers, but can be much, much longer. So like Worlds will be 125 kilometers. Then you get into other forms of mountain biking like free ride, which would be tricks, going downhill, getting scored. Then you have downhill mountain biking, which is not scored, but downhill for speed. You have enduro, where you're doing timed segments, but a very long day because you have to ride between all the segments. And we could just keep going. Those I would say are like the biggest main mountain bike disciplines.
Okay. And when you're leaving for the World Championships, well, when we're talking next week, when this airs, it'll be coming up. And at the Mountain Bike World Championships, do all those disciplines come together, or like a bunch of them come together?
It's different every year.
Okay.
So sometimes they'll all be in different places. This year, actually, it's a special year because all of the mountain bike disciplines are taking place in this, I think it's a 12-day span in Switzerland.
Oh, cool.
So a lot of the athletes will get to cross over, see each other, maybe watch each other's disciplines. Some people will compete in multiple disciplines. Um, but yeah, it's a really exciting opportunity to have them all in one place.
And I are doing the marathon, the 125K race.
Correct. So the marathon will be it's actually a point to point race this year. It's 125 kilometers, so that's 77 miles,
Right.
with 5,000 meters
Oh,
of climbing. So that's almost 17,000 feet of
that's a
climbing.
lot of climbing.
Yes, in the Swiss Alps. So you can imagine how steep and rugged it will be.
How, like, yeah, I'm literally starting to think about this now and thinking about, like, I can't even go up my fire road without, like, having to walk sometimes. But how do you get into that? Like, how did you decide, like, this is the one for me? I want to do the, like, 6-7 hour races.
Yeah, I think it's been a long, I mean, I've been competing in endurance sports for 20 years.
Right.
I'm 29 years old. So, like, that's a large percentage of my life. And I feel like I've kind of gone through uh, a lot of the different types of mountain biking or endurance sports in general. You know, I started in triathlon, I did Xterra racing, I
Hmm.
transitioned to the mountain bike where I did race the XCO, the shorter races, and then I again transitioned to these longer events. And for me, it's just been following my heart with what I love to do. And for me, these longer races, at least right now in my career, have offered me so much. It's for me, it really expands off the bike,
Hmm.
I think is what it is. Because in these long races, and not to say you can't get this in the short races, but for me in these long races, you experience so much. You take yourself to such depths. You go through first, second, third wins, and you start to discover that when you just don't give up,
Uh-huh.
that's when the magic happens. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to feel good. You just have to keep going. And I feel like I have gained so much in life learning how to do these hard things. And I feel like that's what mountain bike has given me.
What is the longest race you've done then? Now I'm curious.
The
Or
longest
event, yeah.
race, yeah, the longest race I've done in miles is Unbound, so
Sure.
200 miles. But the longest duration I've done was the Cocopelli FKT, which the first time I attempted it was over 13 hours.
FKTs are a whole nother, like, acronym here, right? So,
Yes.
yes. So outside of organized races, you also, I mean, these are growing in popularity, these fastest known times where you kind of go out there and go after a record for yourself. And you've started doing a bunch of these. You just finished your most recent one, right? In the triad in Moab.
Yes, yeah. I we recently released, it's on the Competitive Cyclist YouTube. I recently released the White Rim FKT video, which was a completion of our series, the Moab Triple Crown.
How did you pick? So my understanding is, yeah, that you can pretty much FKT anything, but there are, like, famous ones. So how did you pick those three to go after?
Yeah, I think, well, it's multifaceted. Like you said, you can kind of try and get an FKT on
Right.
anything. But in mountain biking, since we don't have world records like you have in track or swimming, the only way we can have records is if we pick a specific trail, because every trail is so different.
Right.
And so the most robust trails, the most heavily trafficked trails are usually the ones that get the attention. And the attention, and the more people do it, the more interest there
Huh.
is
Yeah.
to try and be the fastest. So for me, this series in Moab was a little bit of seeking out the most well-known while also highlighting a place that's been really instrumental in my life. Moab is a place that I feel like I've fallen in love with the mountain bike, and I love the terrain out there. It's just absolutely breathtaking. And so when we started this project and selecting these three trails, I really sat back and I looked for trails that I felt like showed the best of what mountain biking had to offer: the speed, the views, the endurance, the technicality. And I narrowed it down to these three that I felt like if somebody went and did these three trails, they would see the best that Moab and mountain biking has for them.
Okay. And you, like you just said, you released this video. Does that mean that you had to bring a film crew with you on your FKT?
Yes.
Okay. What are the logistics of that? Like, how does that work?
It's quite complicated, and this is a delicate topic because depending on who you talk to. So when you do an FKT, it you can do it either
Mm-hmm.
supported, where you're receiving help, anything you want, really, mechanical support, water, food, etc. That would be supported. Then there's the unsupported FKT, which I think is the purity of FKTs, right? Is you just go out and you, from start to finish, are fully on your own.
Right.
So I carry all of my food, all of my water. If I have a mechanical, I have to fix it. But at the same time, I want to share these efforts. And the only way I can do that is by filming it. And it's, for me, it's not about getting the credit. I could go get it and post it up and have the FKT. But what the film does is, I hope it's inspiring and motivational. And that's the piece that I want to bring to it, is I want people to see how hard this is. I want people to see my struggles so that they can understand that even us pros are out there hurting
Sure.
and struggling too. So I've opted to bring a film crew on these FKTs, and some people say that that is support.
Okay.
Which is fine.
Sure.
I don't need to argue this. But the logistics that we follow are, they cannot speak to me, I cannot speak to them. We don't interact in any way, not even a good job, not even a, oh, this is hard. We completely pretend like each other aren't there.
Interesting.
And that creates its own difficulty. And yeah, then on top of it, the logistics, like on the White Rim, for example, you cannot, since it's in a national park, you cannot drive a side by side. So you can
Okay.
either only drive a four-wheel drive vehicle or a moto. And a four-wheel drive vehicle through these types of rock crawly terrain is very slow. So they would they would not be able to get more than one shot.
Okay.
So the film crew actually had to ride motos, and most of the crew had never ridden a moto before.
Interesting.
So these cinematographers, videographers went, learned how to ride motos, got their permits, licenses, whatever, went, practiced this route multiple times. And then on the day of, we're out there ready to get the shots. And basically, they don't ride with me. They leapfrog
Sure.
each other from one place to the next to get the shots as I go by.
Man, yeah, that sounds. I mean, obviously, there's an amount where mountain biking, so much mountain biking is about like the shot and the beauty and the. I mean, what people think about, they think about like amazing video, but whew, that sounds complicated.
It is, yeah. It is very complicated, and each of these FKTs definitely, I feel like, huge kudos to the film crew. The same one did all three of them, and I mean, between the whole enchilada, the Cogopelli, and the White Rim, they're just all major logistical puzzles. For me too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is each one definitely takes its full year of planning.
What is I mean, you've done like the big kind of long distance, like Leadville, right? You won that. You've done gravel racing, which is obviously getting hot now. We're also talking about like the UCI World type series and these FKTs, which is like other. What's your favorite out of all these kinds of mountain biking events?
Probably whatever I've done most recently. It's the reason I do all of them is because they all sort of scratch their own itch.
Sure.
You know, for me, I think on the competitive side, I think that competing against the best in the world is what allows you to continue to elevate yourself. And so I feel like if I ever get to a start line and look around and think, oh, I've got this in the bag, I am on the wrong start line because that is not stretching me. So I love competing at the highest level. And I think there's something to be said for the UCI, for the World Championships, because that is what that means. But we're also lucky enough to have the Lifetime Grand Prix right now, which is also certainly taking things to a whole new level as well. And that is an opportunity in the US. And then the FKTs give me this sort of different outlet that allows me to stretch on my own, which I think is really special because in the races, there's so much strategy, you know, and there's so many things that are out of your control, right? If someone attacks or if someone crashes into you or this, that, or the other, the FKTs, it's just me and the bike and the trail. And there's no reason that every pedal stroke can't be as fast as possible. And in so many ways, that takes me back to my younger self who at 9 years old, at 10 years old, I wasn't strategizing about the competition. I was just sprinting off the start line, seeing what I could do.
Okay, Kelly, I did not know that FKTs are a thing in mountain biking. Like, that's probably just me, like, living under a rock a little bit. But, like, I was obviously aware of, like, FKTs, like, on foot, like the hiking, running kind. But that was, and I thought it was, like, do you think that a film crew counts as support? That was kind of an interesting point you made.
Ooh. I don't think so, but then obviously it becomes like like you could see how like you know, like a line could be crossed somewhere, who knows. And then I think it's also one of things because self-supportive or supported FKTs in hiking and running are like much more dramatic, right? Because like it means you have to like carry all this stuff. I think in mountain biking that different, like there are fewer, like it's not as big a thing, right, to like have to meet up and get all your aid because you can carry bottles and food and like that you can carry more stuff on a bike. So I think it's not like, I think that matters more, right? Like people take that more seriously.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting because I can see how like unsupported, how so much of the support of an FKT is like moral support, right? Like having someone else alongside you, even with a camera, right, can be. So I understand why people would be like, oh, okay, that's not. But then like if you're not allowed any film crew or anything, like all of the footage you had would come from your own bike mounted camera or helmet mount. It would be like
and it'd be like
like bring us this. I want to see this. Like I want to see the 1 hour recap of someone doing this FKT, doing this really hard thing. Like I want a proper camera crew out there to catch it. I don't want someone's helmet footage.
I also will say, and this is I want a proper camera crew because the other thing,
what?
Okay, I'm judgy.
No,
we've established. I know. I think it's fine. More women out there can be judgy. But I always have like a slightly weird reaction to like the Instagram reels where someone clearly like set up and is filming themselves have like a breakdown or like trouble with dehydration or be like like they clearly like are having a problem that happens in sports, right? Like, you know, a shitty, rough, dark hole time in like marathon. But they've like set like their phone up to film it so that they can then make a reel. And I'm always sort of like, what the fuck are you doing? Like it couldn't have been that bad a hole if you were that like focused on things, right? Like, so if there was an actual film crew just like filming that, you would be like, I would be less judgmental because I'd be like, okay, that That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
That's their job. Yeah.
So we're saving her from saving FKT winners from Kelly's judgment.
Right. I do appreciate, though, that Hannah's kind of gone through all the different kinds of mountain biking. I think, like, when people think mountain biking, at least around here, I'm sure it's like, you just kind of think like, oh, I just like ride, like you think like probably more like the style she does, like what she would call marathon, where you're like, oh, I just go out on a trail and I go from a point to another point for like a couple hours. That's like, most people don't do like downhill or enduro or short track, like randomly in their neighborhood. It's not like really a thing. I do have to say, though, the World Championships this weekend, if we're going to forget the acronym, the XCO or the XCC.
It doesn't matter at this point.
Whichever one's the one that's like the cross country mountain biking, but in loops, which is kind of the like UCI World Cup.
It has an X in it.
You know, like people. Yeah. Like the kind that you think of when you think of like the Olympics, like the kind that's in the Olympics and people like race very fast and crash. Like half the U.S. team is from my tiny ass county. Yes, because we are very, very good at mountain biking here. It's because we have a very, very good, and Hannah and I talked about this kind of after we stopped. Well, she mentioned it briefly, but we talked about it more kind of later. We have a very good youth development program here. And because of that, like huge numbers of girls start mountain biking in high school. And so like all of these girls, like a huge number of the U.S. women, like Kate Courtney, who won the world championship, like start. And it really, like it's fascinating because you develop this youth program. You get all these girls out there, and then it turns out,
as it turns
they're
out,
really good.
Yeah, I can appreciate that from the opposite side, which is that like I have zero mountain biking experience, and this weekend during my like huge endurance weekend being put through my paces.
Right.
Yesterday morning, actually, we were on the way to the lake to go for a swim, and so we were all just like riding random mountain bikes that just like as a mode of transport. Right. And then my friend's sister's like, let's just go down this little trail. It'll be more fun to get there. Yeah. And like, I've had this a few times in my life where people assume that because I know my way around a bike because of triathlon, that like somehow that's going to transfer into like rolling over rocks and roots and like not being scared of falling off a cliff. But it does not. and so it turned into like a lot of walking my bike, a lot of like, and you know how like I had like a really new, I don't know, advanced, a good mountain bike, like a $15,000 mountain
new bike,
you know what I mean? Bike. It was like that I just happened to be on, and not my bike, obviously. And then like if you press the wrong thing with your thumb, your saddle goes like way down or way up, and so I'm like, I can't even get back on. The saddle's way up, I can't get it down. Like I don't know how to change gears. It's just like my sunglasses fog up. I'm not ready for this. I just have like my swim bag on my back.
Oh
like,
man.
Anyway, I do have like mountain biking, something I've really never been able to take to, and I like have a lot of deep respect for the people who like are really, really good at it, because it's like it's very difficult.
It requires it. Yeah, I've had the similar thing where people think because I know how to bike, like I can. And I am definitely worse than most of the like weekend mountain bikers around here, because again, like a lot of people mountain bike here, and I think it takes a lot of because there's a lot of things where like you need speed to get over that, and you need to just have confidence that you will not crash, because hesitation will cost you to crash. Kelly. And so you're like, don't think too hard.
I've been told this multiple times out when people are like trying to teach me mountain biking, like, you can do it, Sara, you know. Just roll over it. Like how many times have people I'm like, this is not good advice. Like
it works though. It actually
just
is.
Roll
with speed,
over.
You actually do want to just
conceptually
roll over
understand.
things.
But like that's not what gets me. That's not the advice that gets me from I'm scared, I don't know how to change gears, and I don't like, and that bridge is too narrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, or whatever. That route looks too big to roll over. Doesn't get me there. So I need some more diverse mountain biking advice.
You needed Nika the youth high school program here to like take you out, and I see them out all the time practicing. And we used to take just because randomly, like a friend of mine taught like a CrossFit style strength class to the high school girls mountain bike team, and it was at the time I could go, so me and my husband would go and trade with the high school, and I think like half of them are in the world championships now, and it's so that's what you need, Sarah. I just need
to rewind
somebody to teach you all the steps.
35 years and be a child and start mountain biking. Okay.
Yes. Yep. There you go. It should be good racing, though. Obviously, rooting for Hannah in the marathon mountain bike, which sounds ridiculous in terms of the elevation gain. I went for a ride last week, and I think I had like 1,500 feet, and she's doing like 15,000. So awesome. And then the ones that people, there's some of the downhill, which is always like scary, and then the ones that people think of, like that we were just talking about, that are like the Olympic style ones. Kate Courtney will be there coming back, and then you have Puck Peterson, who won last year, who's like who won the white jersey then last year in the Tour de France too. Like she was so versatile last year. She was like Olympic mountain biking and then Tour de France Femmes, and she's back. So that'll be super. I think she's probably the favorite, and you can watch it. I know Hannah was like, I don't know how to watch this. It is available. Again, you have to like find your region. They don't make these things easy. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can find out how to watch it. Here it's HBO Max.
As in California or the U.S.?
California doesn't get its own TV broadcasters as much as, we think of ourselves as our own country. Okay. Generally speaking.
Okay.
We are with the U.S. Yeah. So you can watch it, or, a lot of it. It's funny because you watch stuff like that, and then we've been doing this like beginner learn to mountain bike thing that Sara needs, and you have to tell people like, no, it doesn't look like that. Like no, it looks like, very different. Not as good. So,
like they assume.
Yeah, like people watch like Red Bull Rampage, which they just announced the start list, right? Like jumping off cliffs, or they watch Hannah's YouTube video of her FKT, or they watch like the World Championships here, and they're like, I can't do that, and you're like, no.
What's funny, I have the opposite
not where you were
reaction.
Going to start.
Like I was in Whistler, and like under the chairlift, all set like in Blackcomb, set up like all of the like the downhill ramps. Like you can see the downhill course like on the side of the mountain, and I don't think. The only thing I think is, how the hell does anybody do that? Like, and then I like can't understand like the massive amount of people who actually can. Like, I like, wow, okay.
Yeah, a lot of people can.
It's amazing.
Yeah, just go back 30 years. Start young. The kids, they have no fear. They like jump off all kinds of crazy shit above my house. I'm always like, oh no, I'm gonna have to rescue one of you someday. It's gonna be terrible. All right, so those are the sports this week. Any other sports? Sportsing you're doing, watching?
Oh, you are.
I'm going to another
Valkyries.
WNBA game this
Valkyries
weekend.
Doing?
What? I think they're going to make the playoffs.
Oh, that's exciting. Can I come to the playoffs with you?
It's very exciting. No.
No. No, Sara. That was very quick no. Okay.
No. Yeah. Are you watching other sports this weekend?
Probably.
Coming up? Other sports on your plan? Unclear? Mm-hmm. Probably.
Picks of the week.
And our feisty picks for the week. Picks of the week. I want to give a shout out to all of the records. There were so many attendance records. So my feisty pick is going to be the fans. I know. The fans. No, there were a bunch of attendance records set this past week. The opening game of the Rugby World Cup set a attendance record for rugby. The WNBA set an all-time season. Like, there's more people have gone this season. It's like 2.5 million than ever. And then there was this soccer game. They held it at the baseball stadium here in San Francisco, and set a attendance record for NWSL and for any like pro women's sports event in the US. My parents went.
Oh wow.
Yes.
That's big.
Yeah, it's because World Cup
I understand.
isn't
like
pro.
Yes,
Does that make sense?
I mean, like pro league.
Because I went down a hole.
Yeah,
I was
because
like,
we had bigger numbers
pro
of the Olympics
league
and stuff
because
like
I was
that,
like,
than we watched.
Right. And like famously the World Cup held in Pasadena had like 80,000 people, women. Right. So, but it was biggest pro game ever, any sport. And my parents went and they said it was well, my mom was very upset because we lost, but
yeah, good for them making up the numbers.
They had a
over
good
there.
time. So.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
They were 2 of the 40,000.
Okay. My pick of the week is a Canadian golfer, Brooke Henderson. She won her 14th LPGA Tour event over the weekend. And she's from Ontario, which is where I'm from. And she won in Mississauga, which is like a suburb of Toronto. So this is a homegrown choice for me. But Kelly, okay, it's not a major. It's just an LPGA Tour event. How much do you think that she made for her win? Okay. Well, then you're just
million.
Like 412,000. You went too high.
Oh,
you went too high.
Well, I just like the LPGA is very good about paying, and that's the only, and they have had record payouts this past year, and that's why I was quite
blown away by that because that's just for like a tour event, like not for a major. You know, I was like, oh, these women are being paid well.
They are. It's also interesting. My understanding is it's been like a different winner every LPGA event this season. I would have to double, triple check that, but I don't think Brooks won it. So anyway, there's been so there's been like 17 or 19, like a different winner every event.
Yes,
so it's very diverse this year.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of women coming through, I guess.
Super interesting.
Love that. So if I can go back, I'm not actually taking up mountain biking. I'm taking up golf. To be clear.
Okay. To be clear. Probably would still help you in certain corporate arenas as well. So. All right, next week we'll be back. I forget who we're talking to next week. I think maybe it's flag football. And then,
all the sports, all the
more
time.
Sports, all sports, all the sports.